Hey Reddit. What is the dumbest way you injured yourself? Dropped a bottle of shampoo in the shower, bent over to get it, sneezed, slipped and gave myself a concussion. If only the sneeze would have triggered a fart, you'd probably have stayed upright. Assumed a stapler was empty because I saw someone attempt to use it, then they put it back, it was jammed. Tried to trick my mate into thinking I was gonna staple my face. Miraculously unjams into a group of people. It looks like I just felt like stapling my face. I have a stapler story myself. I had just started a new job as a department head and was being trained by the guy I was replacing. I'm a fidgeter and had just finished setting up my desk, so I was playing with the stapler while listening to him explain something. Now, this stapler is the easiest stapler I have come across, literally takes almost no effort to deploy, so I managed to staple my pinky finger while I was looking my trainer directly in the eyes. I'm sure he was second guessing my hiring at that moment. I forgot that I had legs, so I slammed the car door while my leg was between. Slammed my finger in the top of the door to my Jeep. I was stuck and I couldn't pull it out, had locked the door and dropped my keys at the same time. It was really hurting. I was just able to reach my keys and unlock the door. It hurt so bad. Mail turned black and blue and eventually fell off. I found a big stick in a field and threw it like a javelin. I didn't think about the fact that it was L-shaped, so it hit me in the back of the head and I fell over. My eye was cold, so I put a background Christmas light that had been on for a while on my eyelid and burnt my eyelid. My stepsister was the only one who watched it play out and just said from across the room, what the fuck? My eye was cold. I have so many questions. Once, during a sleepover, my friend says, "Hey, wanna see something cool?" and then spit on the lit light bulb by his bed as saliva sizzled and steam rose from the bulb. I was not as impressed as he would have liked, so he did it again, and the bulb exploded. I was using a butter knife to scrape excess wax out of a little glass Christmas candle. The glass shattered. The knife went right into my palm. Blood everywhere. Yep, I stabbed myself with the butter knife. Watched my grandfather cut open a golf ball to show me what the core looked like. After he did it, 7-year-old Ricky decided to replicate the feat. Some key differences. 1. He put it in a vise. I used my soft fingertips. 2. He used a power saw of some kind. I don't remember. I was 8. I had my dad's handsaw. Needless to say, the shape of the golf ball and my inexperience with tools led to more blood than I had ever seen in my short life. We interrupt this thread for the story of Cordial Featured White and his misadventures. Accidentally opened a car door into my head hard when I was 11. Gave myself a concussion. Jumped into the pool awkwardly and cut up my side from my waist through my armpit and to my elbow on the pool bricks. Used a shoelace instead of a guitar strap. It broke, as did my toe. Tossed my skimboard out into the water in front of me, ran full speed to catch up. Skimboard embedded itself in the sand, which caused me to kick it with all my might. Broke a different toe. Reached in a snake cage to pick up a pussy 7-foot carpet python. She expressed her displeasure orally. Shocked, I regrouped and reached right back in to pick her up. She bit me hard that time. Reached in a mangrove monitor's cage to pick him up. Thought I had him securely. I did not. Ended up with him latched onto my knuckle. It's still swollen to this day, 20 years later. The list goes on. Back in the day, when you pumped up Nerf guns, I was in the toy store checking them out. I pumped one up until it wouldn't pump anymore. When it wouldn't fire, what did I do? Look down the barrel and pulled the trigger. Of course, caught a suction cup dart right in the eye, point blank. Back to Cordial Featured White's misadventures. I tried to cut the plastic thing off the end of my shoelace one day before school. Slipped and cut my hand. Ended up in the ER getting stitches later. Went to a concert. Got in the pit. Suddenly, someone, literally, picked up some guy and threw him. I happened to be in the path of said flying human. His head smacked me right in the eye. Instant swelling and it turned black for a week. Funny thing, I'm in the bathroom right afterward, trying to look at my eye, and I look over and see some guy trying to stop his forehead from bleeding. It was a buddy of mine. He was the tossed individual. Senior year in high school, I end up hitting on some chick who has a boyfriend. Long story short, he shows up at a party I'm at a few weeks later. It is at this point you should understand that I'm tripping my balls off at said party. He tries to get me to fight him. He was huge, I'm average. I try, while barely hanging on to reality, to talk my way out of the situation without coming across as a complete pussy. That eventually stops working, and he takes a swing. Now, apparently, LSD gives one cat-like reflexes, because I ducked under the punch and jumped up on his back, putting him in a chokehold. Great, right, wrong. All 230 drunk pounds of this guy then falls on top of me. I literally saw stars. We tussled around for a minute and I escaped without serious injury, but I'll always remember the way it felt to get squished like that. I could go on. And he did. The starter in my Jeep was malfunctioning for a while. But, being a stick, it was pretty easy to roll start as necessary. I normally just tried to park on a hill, and it was no big deal. But one night I was out with my girlfriend, and we had to park in a flat spot. Go out after dinner and it's not starting. So, I have my girlfriend sit in the driver's seat while I try to push it fast enough. She wasn't 100% sure how the whole roll starting thing worked, so there was a bit of trial and error. Anyway, at one point, the Jeep kinda rolled close to another car, and we got into a bit of a predicament. I'm still not sure exactly how it happened, but the tire ended up rolling over the back of my leg and heel. It hurt like absolute hell, but thankfully, my Achilles tendon wasn't damaged. Another time I was living with a roommate. Both of us bred reptiles to supplement our income, and because they're fucking rad. After many drinks one night, we decided to see exactly how hard his alligator could bite. It was a tiny little thing, and we'd both been bitten by, literally, thousands of snakes and lizards, so we were like, how bad can it be? But we cackled the entire time this thing was latched onto my hand, but it did cause a pretty good amount of swelling, and it bled horribly. Another time my girlfriend, different girlfriend, wanted a kitten. But instead of going down to the shelter, I decided we should just take in one of the feral kittens that was just born in our neighborhood. The mother and kittens were hiding under a deck kind of thing, so I had to stick my arm way up under it to reach them. Now, I figured that the mom may object to me kitten napping her offspring, so I planed ahead. I wore a thick welding glove. Given that I've been bitten by every type of snake and lizard, and turtle, for that matter, you can imagine, I wasn't particularly worried that would turn out to be a mistake. I grabbed the kitten, and this thing lit my shit up worse than anything I'd ever felt in my life. It just grabbed my pointer finger and sunk its canines right in. I'm screaming and shaking my hand, accidentally throttling the poor kitten in the process, but he turned out fine, trying to get this thing off me. Somehow I did, but that finger was swollen for weeks. Fortunately, no lingering issues, nor did I contract rabies. Buddy and I are riding our BMX bikes around the local strip mall. We are both about 10 or 11. We are doing pathetic tricks and whatnot when I decide to do a back wheel hop. That's an old trick that nobody does anymore, but it essentially involves pivoting back on your back wheel while standing on the pegs and then hopping around while taking a hand off, doing an X up, or whatever. In a hoe, my buddy is doing his own trick, which he screws up. He ends up rolling into me from behind, sending my entire body weight flying forward. My knee hits the stem hard enough to distort the space-time continuum. I'm lying on the ground, clutching my knee, and trying not to cry. I then have to pedal, with one leg, all the way back home. Couldn't walk right for a week, and had to hang out on the living room floor with my mom, who'd also injured her leg in an unrelated incident, for several days. Skateboarding, circa 1989 or something. Dad just built us a launch ramp, and we are trying to get up the balls to fly off this thing. I eventually gather the courage to do so, but when I come off the lip, I'm grabbing the side of my board, and for some reason, it flies right out from under me. I end up smacking my back on the 2x4 at the top of the ramp hard enough to knock the wind out of me. But here's the best one, hands down. Not sure how I forgot about this one. I'm 13. I have braces. My parents buy us one of those adjustable basketball goals with a breakaway rim, so we can pretend to be MJ in the driveway. My brother always wanted to be Dominique instead of Mike, but I digress. Anyway, I go up for a sick ass dunk. The rim is maybe 6 or 6.5 feet off the ground, and the net hangs down about a foot further. I make the basket, but I get too close to the net. With my face. Yup. As you can probably guess by now, my braces got caught in the net. So there I am, screaming and sobbing with blood pouring down my face, while standing on my tippy toes. My brother goes to get dad, who then comes out and cuts the net free of the rim. But now, I'm walking around with a basketball net stuck to my braces. Dad, who's an engineer by trade, decides that it shouldn't be so hard to free the net, so he goes and grabs some vice grips and a few other tools. 10 minutes later, I'm traumatized and free of the net, but my braces are fucked up beyond recognition. I end up going to the orthodontist the next morning and getting everything fixed. My teeth are actually remarkably straight currently, but my mouth was sore and cut to hell for a while. How are you still alive? Man, both of my ex-wives have come closer to killing me than any of this nonsense. If you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing.